This conference will now be recorded.
All right. I'd like to call the Richland Council meeting for February 10th to order. Everyone is present. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, to approve the agenda.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda items. Minutes from last month.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda items.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, does anybody have anything for public comment that they would like to bring up? Okay, then we'll move on to request and presentation.
All right, so I have invited Shannon Sweeney as part of the street process. We have the option to either certify the assessments before the construction or after the construction. We are leaning towards doing that prior to construction. And so Shannon's here to talk us through that process. And since it would be a convoluted mess if I tried to explain that process third party, I have invited Shannon to kind of talk you through that process and why we're leaning that direction. So with that, I'll turn it over to Shannon.
Thanks, Tony. I have a lot more confidence in you than that. So I think you could have done just a fine job, but I'm happy to participate. Shannon Sweeney with David Drown Associates. We do public finance work for cities, counties, and townships in Minnesota. It's been a few years, but I've served in Richland previously and served a number of other cities in Minnesota. And ultimately, the question becomes on the assessment process, when do we want to certify those assessments? Historically, if we look back probably more than 10 years, traditionally cities would hold the improvement hearing like you have done. You've already had the initial assessment hearing. It's called an improvement hearing, where you've invited the public in, presented the project, and talked about the fact that you're intending to have assessments as part of your project. Historically, cities would then wait until the project is essentially completed, the construction is about done, and then they would have the assessment hearing, the second public hearing that's required in order to adopt the final assessment amount. They would then certify that assessment to the county in the fall, and collections would typically begin the following year with property taxes. Now, as inflation has taken hold over the last 20 years and made these projects terribly expensive and assessments have gone up, communities have seen some challenges to that assessment, and successful challenges that have significantly reduced what is being planned for assessments in some instances. And so if you're putting together a financial plan and you have assessment revenues as part of that plan, an appeal process can significantly alter that plan. And ultimately, what it typically does is it shifts a portion of what we're planning on in assessment revenue over to tax levy, which can dramatically change our plan of finance for a project. And so what some folks have decided to do as a result of that, or some cities, I should say, is to hold the assessment hearing earlier in the process before the construction contract is awarded. What they do is they provide sufficient time between when they receive the bids to when they award the contract to satisfy the requirements for an assessment hearing. And so they conduct that second hearing before the contract is awarded for construction. And so the council then has some sense of whether or not there are going to be appeals in that process that could impact that funding plan. Now, the pros or the positive aspects of that are that, ultimately you're making a decision on awarding a very large construction contract with the understanding of what you have for the potential for appeal of those assessments. In the assessment process, following the assessment hearing, folks have 30 days to essentially file in court that they're and to undertake that appeal process of the assessment. The assessment statute says they're required at the hearing itself to provide you written notification of their intent to appeal. And so you can decide how long you wish to conduct that process, whether it's awarding the construction contract immediately after the assessment hearing, because ultimately you would have some written notices of appeal if you're going to receive them and you would understand that. Or you could wait until that entire 30 days for which they have to file in court elapses before you award your construction contract. Engineer would need some direction with regard to how you would intend to proceed, because ultimately when they send out the bids, they have a period of time that they're indicating that you will have to make the award. Sometimes that's 30 days, sometimes that's 60 days. 60 days would more than accommodate, conducting the entire assessment process if that's what you chose to do. It could be as little as 30 days if you were satisfied with just holding the hearing and seeing if you received any indications of appeal in writing at that hearing. And then you ultimately make the decision immediately following that on whether or not you wish to award the construction contract. Ultimately, that gives you some sense for, will you have a valid assessment? Will that revenue stream be available so that our finance plan works for the project? The negative aspect of that would be, ultimately you really don't know what the project is going to cost until you've built it and you've made all the pay requests to the contractor and you've finished the project. There are some communities that have gone through that process and they've increased the assessment based on higher costs incurred, and they've passed some of those higher costs on through the assessment process. My comment would be that most of my clients typically have not chosen to raise the assessments even if the project cost was a little bit higher, simply because of the politics of going back to the same folks you've already had at a hearing when you did the improvement hearing and giving them an estimate of their assessment, and then later deciding whether or not you would increase it should your costs come in higher. I would say that's the only negative aspect of having that hearing earlier in the process. If I were going to add another benefit of having the assessment hearing late in the process, it could be residents' ability to comment on the project in its final stages with regard to restoration and things like that. Generally, they're going to comment on grass seeding or sodding or the lack thereof and things like that. But they would have the opportunity to provide feedback towards the end of the project rather than early in the project, which, you may value one way or another. But at the end of the day, you have two options: to conduct that hearing early in the process or to do it late in the process. As Tony mentioned, based on our conversation, it sounded like we thought we would give an early process fairly strong consideration. So he asked that I present that information to you and answer your questions to the best of my ability. So if I can answer your questions, fire away.
Do you have any questions for Shannon?
I got two. When you said we're going through an assessment process, and I'm just thinking here, the county has to be involved in that, correct? Because they look at the person's property value.
No, the county. This is different than the valuation they're putting on the property. What you're doing is you're assessing a specific dollar amount based on the improvements that you're making. It's not an assessment of value. It's an assessment based on the cost of the project. Now, under statute, we could go pretty deep in the weeds. Under statute, a local government's only able to assess what they've increased the value of the property by. The county doesn't determine that. You would hire a private appraisal if you cared to demonstrate what that might be. what
So
many,
this
oh,
value of the improvement of a property based on the street, does that go to the county then, and then they can make the value of the property higher or lower?
um, I don't think, I've never seen that happen where the county has immediately, you know, raised the value based on a new street, but certainly it can. You know, ultimately what we're saying is we've improved the value of the property by the assessment amount. Generally, you know, these are separate offices in the county that handle this activity. And we're filing the assessment with the county auditor. It's a specific dollar amount attached to a specific parcel. And they're simply putting that on the taxes for collection over whatever the duration of your assessment is. Now, the assessor could come out next year and look at your house if you have a new street in front of it and decide that they want to increase your value a little bit. But that's a separate office, and that would be an independent analysis.
That's kind of where I was getting at. Then the
Yep.
second question I got is, how would we address a homeowner's or property owner's concern? Like you said, if the facade isn't done right, if we've already assessed them, what's their way of addressing an issue that they don't like at the end of the project?
Coming to City Hall, discussing it with the city administrator. I suspect that the engineer will have somebody on site that's working with property owners, and they can certainly discuss those matters with that person. If they don't, I'm sure Tony would, because ultimately he's going to hear the concern and he's going to work with the city's engineer that represents him, you know, in matters with regard to bad contracting, if that's the case.
Shannon, we would ultimately have some retainage through the project as well.
Yep,
Correct?
that's true. 5% is typical retainage on a project like this.
We would ultimately retain some money set aside
Oh,
for the
yes.
project so that if
Yep.
there were some last minute items that had to be, that weren't checked off the list, that some of that money would be dedicated to fix those items that weren't taken care of.
Makes
by
sense.
the county.
Doesn't the contractor have like a punch card that goes around and tries to fix all the little things that
Yeah.
the?
Yes.
And that's for, that retainage is supposed to be for any of those items that they didn't take care of that were supposed to be taken care of. So,
That's all the questions I had.
All right.
anybody else?
Were we discussing percentage of our assessment? Is that down the line?
That's on the agenda for tonight, yeah,
Okay.
but yes, so. But ultimately, we just need to decide if we're gonna assess at the beginning or the end of the project, and that's why Shannon was here tonight. I do feel that, you know, the size of the project, scope of the project, and for the benefits of the people who are living in that area, knowing that upfront, before the project is over is important.
How many days are we thinking? He's what, 30 or 60, 45? Could we?
I believe the timeline that the engineers are constructing and then the initial timeline that Shannon and Corey and I discussed, I believe outlays a 60-day timeline for the appeals process. But
Sounds good.
I think Corey just sent me the email today. I haven't had a chance to look at it. So.
Who decides whether it's 30, 60, or 45?
We do.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah. Ultimately, what we would do is communicate with Corey with regard to how far in the assessment process we wanted to be before you were required to award a construction contract. So if you said you wanted to have the hearing and wait for the 30-day, you know, period where they can file in court to elapse, you know, that would give him specific direction on how long he needed to build into the bidding documents for your award of the contract. If you said you were satisfied with the feedback that you got at the assessment hearing and the written notices that they're supposed to provide at that time, and you felt comfortable awarding a construction contract after receiving that information, it wouldn't take as long then, because we wouldn't be waiting that 30 days following the hearing. But that's entirely up to you folks to decide.
That 2/27 date of an open house isn't that hearing.
No.
It's just an open
That's
house.
just
It's open now.
I would like to see after that.
Of course.
So. Anybody else?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Shannon, thank you.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
Yep, you too. Thank
Okay. Ordinance and resolutions. So,
Per your action at the last meeting, I did comp check with the city attorney, and he did say that this is an appropriate action to take place. He did say, should this go well and this works out for us, he would rather for going forward to codify this into the ordinances, but this is an appropriate way to handle it for the remainder of the year. So.
I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution 2505, canceling regular meetings of the Richland City Council.
I got a question.
There's
There's a motion on the table.
I'll second that.
Now we can.
All in favor?
no discussion.
Full discussion?
Question I got, that is going to do the city council and mayor budget lower because we aren't having as many meetings, correct?
Yes,
But we don't get paid the same because we're meeting less.
you're getting paid the same.
Well, same amount per hour or per meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. All in favor then?
Aye.
Ambulance report.
Huh?
Ambulance report.
Okay. First things first, Ms. Jennifer, is told me that she is now cancer-free.
Yay.
So she'll be coming back and, she's already signed up for March hours, so that's a
Good.
plus, so, which is good.
Hmm.
Be helpful getting her back. Laura Beckman, she's a paramedic and she got a refresher done. She paid for everything already, but a paramedic refresher is a lot more expensive than EMT refresher because they have certain standards they have to go by for the state. We already do the refresher, which that's $325, but we were wondering if we can get the ACLS paid for, which is her cardiac arrest.
What's ACLS?
It's advanced life support, basically, that she does. It's $168. It would just need to be reimbursed for, and I gave Tony to build her receipts already for that. Let's see.
I'll need a motion if you want to do that.
Have we ever reimbursed anybody else's, or is this the first one we've had?
We've reimbursed training in the past, it's not uncommon.
But she's the only paramedic, right?
Yeah, she's a
But she
paramedic.
puts in hours, she covers
Yeah.
Yeah.
hours, so it's
Okay.
not uncommon.
But is she acting as a paramedic?
No, we can't do that
Yeah.
unless we get the part-time ALS license for that, and then we'd have to carry the meds, which then we'd have to get a lockbox and all this. That's more expensive,
That's,
quite a bit. And then we'd run risks of medications missing, and I don't wanna deal with that, so.
Fair.
But, yeah. Any questions on that, any other?
I'll make a motion, we approve reimbursing Laura for $168. So.
So it'd be the whole, cause she paid for the paramedic part too, because she didn't turn it in here,
Okay.
sorry.
So 168.
325.
I'll second that.
Okay.
493.
Look at you.
So all in favor then?
Aye.
Who's second on that?
Jason.
Crew's been signing up for their hours. We do struggle with the daytime hours. That's why you see kind of north in the morning during the day here. We do not have, everybody works during the day. So we are able to use them 108 hours a week, which we don't even make it to that. And, you know, I'm on pretty much all the other time. I did send what I do for hours and everything. Does that kind of help explain where I'm at? What my pay and everything is?
We just wanted to break down and show you that the director hours are separate from the call time hours. 'Cause
Yeah. I just subtract from the
separate
call time hours.
Yeah.
I don't always do my director time when I'm on there. Sometimes I'm at work and they're calling me, so I put it in later. Sometimes I'm on the road and they're calling me, and you know, I can do a lot of this at home, but a lot of it is filling that schedule and everything like that, and orders and making sure the stuff is in order. So I can start giving you guys that every month so you have a breakdown of it so that we can kind of see and why my paycheck is the way it is. But I am the main one that puts in the hours. December, I had almost 500 hours in, so on top of that. But I have reached out to Mark about coverage for when we have one person on during the day. I've sent him a list for this month to see what he'll help out with during the daytime. But otherwise, I get home about 4:30, 5 o'clock. All depends on what time my partner would start. So usually 5 o'clock somebody starts with me. But let's see. We have our bingo this weekend on Saturday. If anyone wants to come and join. And who's my liaison? We'll have to meet up.
Sounds good.
You know my schedule. I know your schedule.
There you go.
we'll get a hold of each other.
That works.
So that way I can kind of go over things so you already know.
Can you, when you talk to Mark next time, can you also schedule an executive board committee? Because we have not
A what?
had, an ambulance executive board committee.
Yeah, we haven't had one for a while.
Yes, so we should probably.
Yeah.
schedule that.
This late afternoons work okay?
That work for you?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll set something up with them and I'll send out an email when I go back there here, get that going.
That'd be good for Mark to introduce himself to Amanda.
Yeah, and then you can kind of see where we're at. I don't know how the the rig check inspection is gonna be going this year because they changed a whole bunch of states, so I gotta find out about that. Everything's up to date and everything, got all the stuff ordered that was expiring, so everything should be up to date on that. We're also looking at ways to get more people, especially during the daytime hours. So if anybody knows anybody that wants to be an EMT or a first responder, it would be greatly appreciated. Other than that, any questions for me from anybody?
How old do they have to be?
18. We thought about, now that Jennifer's back, I might talk to her, see if we can get something going at the school for those that are gonna be a senior. And, because I think if they're going in the medical field, law enforcement, fire, whatever, it'd be good for them to get this and get experience.
Military. Military.
Yeah, or military, yeah, because,
What's that hard?
yeah, exactly. So we'll see what we can come up with there.
That'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll make the motion and accept the ambulance report.
We'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire department.
One fire call, no medical calls, bloodborne pathogen training. They held their annual banquet for current members and retirees. Well, they are requesting to award the bid for the fire truck. We received one bid from Hyman Fire Equipment for $224,641. I'll pass it around. According to, it sounds like anywhere from 12 to 15 months before the truck would be delivered. According to the bid, the chassis is the only thing that would have to be paid for as soon as it's comes in. So if it's ordered, then that would be $77,145. And that is dependent on when Ford would have the chassis available. That could be next week, it could be 6 months from now. It just depends on whenever Ford would have the chassis.
I have a question on the report there.
Okay.
What does your bloodborne pathogen training consist of in a nutshell?
If it's not yours and it didn't come from you, then you shouldn't touch it.
Where would a firefighter experience?
They respond to
Only
medicals, they
body.
respond to traffic accidents, they
Yeah.
respond to.
I was thinking just in a fire.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
I was talking to Josh, this is a 1.5 ton truck, so that's a good sized truck.
Now, what does that truck do? I mean,
That'll be a brush and emergency response truck.
okay, it's not a fire pump or a.
Oh yeah, it's got pumps
Got
on it.
pumps on
it. Truck, yeah.
Okay,
It's got a tank on it, so.
okay.
Then it would allow the current truck, right? reallocate for other use.
Yeah, yeah,
A lot
that'll
of
be
bells
more
and
of
whistles
a,
on it.
that'll be more of a crew truck to
Yeah.
respond to medical.
And that will be the main one?
That'll be more of a brush.
But I mean, it'll be the main one compared, because you said the other one's gonna go somewhere.
That one will be
This
used
will
to
be like
like,
for medicals and stuff like
yeah,
that.
and to clean up hoses and move stuff around and just more of a.
Yeah,
We're not really getting rid of any other
No,
equipment,
no,
just moving around for other stuff.
yeah.
They said they couldn't even fit 4 guys in the
No,
current truck now because of all the stuff that they have to have.
They
Brush
have in
truck.
there.
That'll alleviate that, so you can get
Gotcha.
more guys in the truck for all.
That kind of money.
Did you need anything done with that?
well, we need
Make
a motion to
motion.
award the bid.
I will, make a motion to award the bid.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Make a motion to accept the fire department report.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Police department? Mm-hmm.
Okay, I apologize for the lack of numbers because I was gone last week. So, January, we had 126 calls. January of 2024, we had 226. I thought that was weird. That we had 100 calls difference. That is due to, I know later in the year, last year, we talked about, doing one call for service for all the building checks instead of separate calls for service for every location. So that's why that number for 2024 is higher than this year.
Okay.
I attended MSCIC in Mankato at the beginning of the month, and Officer Jant attended Data Master training. Sounds weird, but it's basically the giant computer after somebody gets a DWI. When you get to the jail, it's a lot of scientific things.
What does MSCIC stand?
The Minnesota State Coalition, Investigators Coalition. So they go over a bunch of different case studies and different things like that. That was just in Mankato. So, Officer Cade Madden, he got injured last year, not here. And so he was on leave and hadn't been back since. So he resigned as of the 31st. And then I just received an application last week, which I thought was ironic timing. So I'll be going over that and possibly scheduling a interview because I haven't had a chance to look at the actual application. Uniforms,
How many hours does that part-timer get?
it'd be up to 200 hours for the year,
Yeah.
which that's,
Whole year.
yeah, the whole,
I didn't think
yeah, the
it was
whole
very
year.
much.
Yeah, no.
Got
Just in case somebody goes on vacation or, yeah, somebody's sick or whatnot.
Why is 200 picked up?
Huh?
Why is 200 number picked up?
Because when we went from 2 full-timers to 3, I didn't feel comfortable not having the option to have a 4th person in case something happened.
But is 200 just a random number?
200 is kind of what we chose that would offset that we wouldn't spend more or,
It was basically a budgetary number.
yeah.
Okay. Just
It
curious.
was
How the numbers
financially
go.
driven for the most part.
Okay.
It was a
Would anything over the top of that put him in full time or?
no, it was more of an agreement of she didn't feel comfortable completely getting rid of part-time because of the fact of if somebody gets hurt or if somebody needs a vacation or something like that, and it was still giving us the opportunity to have that person there and still give some, I mean, it's hard to have somebody on call and not guarantee them some sort of hours and still want them
okay.
again to stick around
Sure,
for a position.
makes sense, okay.
With 200 hours, it still gives somebody the option to stay and still want to work.
Make a little bit of change.
Yeah.
Be feasible.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
it was budgetary driven for the most
Yep.
part.
Looking, I mean, it's in my budget, but I would like approximately approval for $1,000 to purchase additional uniforms, pants, long sleeves. Some of us need new flashlights, that type of thing, since we haven't ordered since late 2023. And I don't think it would be 1,000, but
Is that per person or just?
no,
Okay.
that's total.
Total
for
for everyone.
us. Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve up to $1,000 for uniform items that she needs.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then equipment, our first payment went out for the new tasers. Which I didn't think this through, but it kind of works out for the benefit of us anyway. We're doing within that amount or the yearly amount that we're gonna pay out. That is also paying for someone to come in and personally train all three of us at no additional cost to that number. And then at the end of it, all three of us will be taser certified to instruct them.
Nice.
So it's kind of a 10,000 birds with one stone type of deal.
It's an expensive course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like $5,000 or $6,000 as opposed to the however much it's costing us in the 5 years. And then we had a broken body worn camera due to it falling off from a domestic that we had a few months ago. So that got sent in, so there was a charge for, it was 24 something, but I just put 25 on there, so. And then the new one has already come in, so I'll be getting that registered sometime this week. And then just two random things, evidence bags with the amount of calls, serious calls we've been having recently. I'm gonna look into getting two evidence bags, one for each squad. It's gonna have gloves, it's gonna have evidence bags, it's gonna have markers, it's gonna have rulers, all the things, and I'm happy to show you guys once I put them together. So I'm gonna look into that. And then the other thing I heard about last week was door hangers in case something happens in the middle of the night and we see that people have Ring doorbells. We're not waking them up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We'll just hang that on their front door and have them contact us. So, just two random things. And I think that's it.
Right.
On those evidence bags, I just thought of something. Do you have a place that you have to mandatorily store stuff once you get it?
Uh-huh. I'd be happy to
That's
give
okay.
you not a super entry view
I'll
to
stop
it.
in and ask one of these days on my way back.
It's an interesting process.
Yeah. All right. I'll make a motion that we take or accept the police report.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Denise.
Denise.
Care Center report.
Evening, everybody. All right, Care Center report. Well, I don't have any financials for you. I do have some operational stuff. Our average census went down from 37 to 36. Our current census is 38. We had 26 referrals in the month of January with 6 admissions, 8 discharges. We accepted 9 other people that did not come to us for various reasons, and we declined 11. The 11 that we declined were typically outside of our area. They weren't local people, so they kind of getting dumped on. There's something else going on with this person that we really don't need here. And quality, looking to improve quality of life for the residents up until this week. And I will say this, if you have a loved one in the nursing home, or you think you're gonna visit the nursing home, please keep in mind, we have COVID in the building and influenza A. So I would like you to use good judgment when you do that. If you are feeling ill or don't have good health, might not be a good week to visit. But so up until this week, more residents had been getting out. It was really nice to see more people out in the dining room eating rather than eating in their rooms. A lot of good activities that people were attending. So that was good. There will be no financials on this report. And I just found out, so I will prepare January financials for the March 10th meeting. However, the March 10th meeting, I will not be here. I have it's called an Executive Leadership Masterclass in the cities.
Getting learned.
Yeah, getting learned. It's a year long. So I will be out once a month for various things, but should be interesting. Always have openings, certified nurse aides, full and part-time positions on evenings and every other weekend. RNs, LPN positions, evenings and overnights, every other weekend and holiday. Looking for laundry and housekeeper at this point. So we need one person there, whether it's full or part-time, I'm not really sure. Kind of depends on how they build the schedule. Other things, we're beginning to plan the 50th anniversary. Had our first meeting, involved putting together a save the date card. We're planning on doing it July 19th so that we can get maximum exposure through Farm and City Days. We will have entertainment in the morning.
Farm and City Days is before that, isn't it?
No, it's late this year.
It's after
You're
July
going
4th
late?
weekend. Yeah.
Because it was, the county fair is a week before.
Yes.
Makes
Well,
sense.
Yeah.
Week before.
Okay. All right, sorry.
So that's all right. I'm glad to see it.
More people come to town.
That's right. So we're looking at having someone there for entertainment in the morning, right after the kiddie parade, because that's when that will happen, about 11 o'clock. And then another fella coming in. The guy in the morning will be more country music or traditional folk music or whatever. And then the guy in the afternoon, we're gonna crank up the volume and make a little noise. And get people ready for the parade. So we've got some of that going on. We're looking at putting together a wall of history, blow up some photos of, kind of when we started throughout the years of different projects, and of course the flood. Gotta have that in there, right?
Yeah.
And we'll have descriptions to hopefully everything that we had going on. Along with that, we'll have a wall of honor with current staff members, hoping everybody will do this. A photo, a bio, so that people can see who works there, what they're all about, and as well as our retirees. I think that would be nice. And then a wall of the future, or an area to show what we hope to do in the future. So that would be nice as well. And then Nursing Home Week is May 11th through the 17th this year. The theme is the tapestry of life. I don't know what we're gonna do with that. But they're planning on some different activities for Spirit Week to get the staff and residents involved. I'm hoping a lot of it, I think, we will take the tapestry of life. Yeah, okay, it's ours. But we will do 50th anniversary kind of stuff for our people. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Any questions?
You looking for any more entertainment for that during the Farm and City Days?
I got two people, I got one guy penciled in already, Paul Kimmons, for the afternoon. He's in turn up the noise. And then I haven't made contact with anybody for the morning stuff yet. What you got in mind?
Well, I know a guy that's an Elvis guy.
Oh, okay.
I'll get with you.
All right, sounds good. That'd be great. All right, yeah, that's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Motion to approve the care center report.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, people service report.
Michelle's not here tonight. She
Yep.
had some stuff come up, so she won't be here. So it's just in writing, but nothing out of whack. Pretty normal report. So nothing out of the ordinary.
Make a motion to accept the people service report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Maintenance and utility report. Eric?
And happy birthday to Eric.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Brady passed the test for the Class A, so
Yay.
it was great. So, Sorensen's came, got our, refrigerator, that got taken under, with the flood. So that's finally been replaced. Pressure washer came,
Does it work?
works great. Don't have to open the door either. And I really don't have a lot here, other than, we need a new computer in there. We can split that between street and water. And then, Chad Neitzel was, we're thinking of having him come and, put a new window in, up at the Crow's Nest. It used to be, what's a 4x8 piece of plywood. It's all rotted. So we're trying to kind of make it look more like, the football field for all here. So
Like a
slider.
slider.
Yeah. So, but the number is wrong in that. It's like 700 and 750. So,
You can do that.
so those are my two requests as of right now.
We need motions on those two items?
Yeah, so I need I got the flammable cabinet that was from the safety stuff that we had. So that flammable cabinet for 1160.88, the computer for 675, and then the window at Legion Field for 750.
I'll make that motion for all three of those items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, that'll be a good addition to that crow's nest.
It needs a.
Yeah, and then our plan is that, so during the winter, we'll put a piece of plywood over the thing to winterize it, but then during the baseball season, we'll pull it off, and then it'll just be that sliding glass there, so that when they can pull it out like they do for football, and when they're announcing, put it back in and lock it up, so.
And I also am working on some kind of a ladder. I got, Joe from Waldorf Welding thinking of a plan, because that thing is very unsafe.
Dangerous.
The crawl up there.
Yeah.
So, and then we should probably talk about this, the water system, the water plant, the control box. I know two of these guys weren't here when we started on this. It's been about 5 months, I suppose, since we've talked about it. We finally are getting some bids in, and ours are obsolete if anything breaks. So we have this bid and we have one other one, but now we're gonna.
Well, so the right now the controls that control all of the water plant are just a hodgepodge of everything's been replaced so many different times. They've been added on that it's all, and like Eric said, everything that gets broken, everything that's broken is irreplaceable. We can't replace it, so it has to be replaced. So Eric went out and got a few quotes. The two quotes are about $40,000 difference. So we have a little bit of concern over apples and oranges. So we're gonna take the expensive quote and black out the numbers and give it to the other guy and have him cross out or change the difference to see where the differences are, to figure out, what, there's some minor things like one guy quoted a 12-inch display, one guy quoted a 10-inch display, and that stuff we don't care about. That's not, Eric doesn't care if that's a 10-inch or 12-inch display because we're not.
I got glasses.
It doesn't matter. And one guy quoted a cellular notification system, one guy quoted a radio notification system. We don't need the cellular system. That's not important to us. We don't care about that kind of stuff. But the things about, what types of floats they're using, what types of, controls they're using, what type of motors they're using, that's the important stuff that we need to know that's the same. So we want to make sure that stuff's all the same before we bring that back to you guys to.
How long before we do that?
Probably at the next meeting.
So I take it this one's lower amount?
What?
This,
Yeah. So we'll we'll have it for the next meeting, and the water fund should be plenty okay with.
We have enough in reserve or in the water.
Yeah, we should have plenty of money to be able to start that project and take care of that project. And then ultimately, as part of this project, the plan eventually is to move that egg hydrant up to the water plant to get rid of that egg hydrant down there, so that's not, taking care of that. Everything's kind of up at the water plant.
Do you see that big number going down much?
What are you talking about?
The 90.
100,000.
Oh, I think we're going to be in the 60 to 70,000 range. Yeah, I think we're at like six. I think the one quote was 63 or 64,000. The other was 99,000. I think we're going to be in the 65,000 range, 65 to 66,000 range. I think we're close on. I think the controls are close.
Well, why don't you take the one that's expensive and black them out, give it to one, so you can do these one here, do them both against each other.
Because we know the people involved, so we know that needs to go the other way around.
Okay, gotcha. I thought maybe just competition against each other.
No, we know the way that it needs to go. So that's why it needs to go that way.
Okay, gotcha.
So we'll have that for you at the next meeting to look at. But once that's done, that plant should be functioning at a very high level. We shouldn't have to worry about that.
Eric, I have a question. You just pumping out of one well?
Two.
Looks like,
Two. I'm just doing once a month. I just switch it over back and forth.
okay.
So,
Looks like well number 3 got all the usage from last month.
well, what?
Well, it looks, what I'm looking at is well number 3
Yep.
had all the usage, and 1 and 2 didn't get any.
Yeah, he's just going back and
You
forth
switch back
between
and
2 and
forth.
3.
Rotate them around.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, I got water in my house, I'm glad.
that's all I got for you. Any other questions?
nope. You had a meeting at the school, anything come of that, of any
Oh.
interest?
We had a very good meeting.
Very good
at
meeting at school. Yeah. We met with the transportation director and the superintendent and buildings and grounds director, and then the engineers on the project, and had a very good conversation with the project. They talked about the project and everything went very well. They support the way it's laid out. We talked about adding 3 crosswalks, 3 very distinguished crosswalks. One in front of the buses, one halfway where the comes down from the gym, right across there, and then one at the south end across.
We'll have all this laid out. At
Yeah,
the next one.
at the next open house, we'll have it out. And then on the south end, where the people park to pick up the kids, the plan right now is to bump that in
Closer to the fence.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Walking it right there.
to bump it in like 4 feet.
Okay.
And make that a no parking, only pickup drop off. So that people will swing in there and
Almost
drop
like a
off.
little cul-de-sac, huh?
So that'll eliminate any staff from parking there all day long. It'll be just a in and out drop off.
Right where the sack kids
Yep.
dropped off.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then the plan will be to have no parking signs on the east side of the street during school hours for the whole east side of the street.
Our purpose
Even
is
down
we don't want children coming across the road for any.
Absolutely.
So from the east side of the street, from 4th all the way to 30, there will be no parking during school hours. Period. None at all. Should eliminate anybody coming in from 4th driving down that way during school hours. So
He's, what's his name again? He's very stern. He wants safety there. I know.
So very,
We all
good,
do.
very,
Yeah, no, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yes.
very good conversation with the school. They're very on board with everything. So
Good.
And then with the plan is we discussed putting in the very well signed and marked crosswalks, and we even discussed putting in lights and stuff too for the crosswalks with stuff. So yeah.
Okay.
It was a very, very, very good conversation. We've already got concept drawings, and Eric and I are back with Buildings and Grounds on Wednesday morning to talk with the school board members as well.
Perfect.
So,
All right, good.
Great job, guys.
I'll make a motion to accept the maintenance and utility report.
We'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. All right, unfinished business.
So we discussed the assessment rate for this 2025 project. The council has kind of leaned towards 20% for this project, and so I just kind of assumed, I know that assuming does, but that is what I kind of lean towards. I did discuss this with the city attorney, and he said that this is appropriate. So if you so choose to adopt the resolution, this would basically set the assessment rate for this project at 20%. This would not change the city's assessment policy in any way, shape, or form for future projects. It would only change the assessment rate for this particular project as defined as the project, as the PER that was laid out for the project.
Did you run like a stubby pencil exercise on what it's gonna cost at 30% versus what it's gonna cost at 20%?
Yeah, that was all presented to you guys. in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
We got that information.
Now, my question is this, is what if we went 15% or 25%? Just to see what the numbers were.
You're probably not gonna be able to afford the project if you go 50%.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
The current schedule is 30, right?
Yes, that's what the current assessment policy is, yeah.
Which other projects have been 20 before, correct?
Third Street project was 20%, yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2506.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Any nays?
Nay.
All right, garbage recycling contract?
You have one more open
Oh,
house.
open house.
There you go.
So I talked with Corey and I had it wrong in the packet, so I apologize. But he would like to set the next open house date for February 27th from 5 to 7 p.m. So I need a motion for that, and then he will mail those notices out this week to the affected homeowners so that they are well notified of that.
And this open house will be going over what information?
They'll be, according to what the 60% of the design should be adopted at that time. So we'll have a utility meeting next week, so that most of the utility design should be complete at that time. And then most of the drawing should be, 60% of the drawing of the project should be decided, or for the most part, completed at that time. This will kind of be the final opportunity for information before we, as a council, before you as a council agree on a final design for the project.
Just like we had out there.
Yep, it'll be the same setup exactly. They'll put the same type of drawings up and allow the same type of opportunity for information. And then that'll drive your final design.
Coffee and
project.
cookies?
Love coffee for, yeah, Corey will bring it.
Corey will
Bolton
probably
will
bring
bring it, so.
More people may come.
Yeah, so, but, yeah, so we'll need a motion to set that open house.
I'll make a motion to set the open house date on February 27th, 2025 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Is that a Thursday also?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now to the garbage recycling contract.
So obviously, RFPs were for the single hauler and recycling bids. You received 2 of them from Waste Management at Thompson's. City Council awarded the bid to Thompson Sanitation on a 3-year contract. I was contacted by Thompson Sanitation. They are buying brand new recycling bins for the entirety of the city of New Richland as part of this process. It's a pretty big investment, so they did ask if I would ask the council if they were interested at all in adding 2 years and making it a 5-year contract.
Same terms?
I did reach out to the city attorney because of the RFP process, and I did ask about it. And they did, and because the difference between Waste Management's RFP was 5% per year and Thompson's was 1.5% per year, since there was such a huge dramatic difference between the 2 of them. And talking with the attorney did say that if the council chooses, he had no problem with the council adding that 2 years to and making a 5-year contract. Thompson did say they would agree to the 1.5% for the additional 2 years. So.
And that's in the contract language itself. That's not just them saying, hey, we'll keep
No,
it.
that we would, what I would do is then I would redraft the contract that would say 5 years instead of 3, but they would honor the 1.5% over 5 years instead of 3 years. So it's up to you guys. Based on what's happening outside right now, 1.5% is potentially could be a really big deal. So I will let you guys choose. I just need to know whether you want me to prepare a 3-year contract with Thompson or a 5-year contract with Thompson.
Yeah, I think as long as that language is in there. Good with 5 year.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept or to change that to a 5-year contract instead of 3 at the 1.5% annual adjustment.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. New business, January 25 check register. Anybody have questions about it?
You know,
I know, waiting for him.
just gotta pull them up here. Check summary register. The troubleshoot crosswalk at school.
That's the crosswalk lights.
Can't we ask, since it's a county road or a
It's
state
our
road,
responsibility.
you can't share it with the school?
It's
or-
our responsibility as part of the contract.
If the school wasn't there, we wouldn't have to have that.
It's as part of the crosswalk lights on the state highway are our responsibility as well.
Come down there, Axon Enterprise, that MUS for 1652.
That is the.
That was in your
that's it.
report?
Exxon contract.
Express soft mount extractor for 5,000. What was that? That was the street, wasn't it?
Extractor.
What is the?
Fire department.
It's fire department.
What was the extractor about?
It's something to do with fire truck.
Okay.
No, for when they wash their turnout gear, the extractor.
That's right. I remember now. Thank you. Okay. Medical direction, $1,800.
That is the annual service or that is the medical direction fee that we pay to the medical director for the ambulance.
Did that mean medical director instead of direction?
No, that's the medical direction. It's the person whose license the ambulance falls under.
Was the 5x8 US Poly a flag?
I had a question on that flag too.
Probably.
For $281?
I called Peters.
There's 4 of them.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
4 of them.
All right. That makes
I called Peters. Yeah, a poly flag is $70.43.
sense. Makes sense.
But we don't need a 5x8 flag out there. Is that a 30-foot flagpole? No, it's a 20-foot flagpole. If that, I think a 3x5 or 4x6 would look a lot it's all about optics. It's,
Mhm.
that flag is too big for that pole.
This one here.
Yeah. I know Peter sold us that, but I think we could go down a size.
Can we
I
swap
think-
them back out?
What's that?
Ask them to just swap them back out?
Not that you already use it, probably not.
Well,
Well, not. the ones there.
The one, yeah, maybe we could trade them in for them.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I would just suggest that. It just doesn't look right to me.
Looks too big.
Yeah, it does.
Next question is MSFDA membership. What's the MSFDA stand?
Fire Department Association.
I noticed that the broken camera, body worn camera, it looked like there was two.
Yeah, one with, when we put stuff into the check writing software, Heather accidentally forgot to put e-check so that, because if you're putting it in for a electronic payment, if you don't put e-check, it automatically generates a check.
Okay.
And so it was just an error.
So that's,
It's voided.
Nothing to worry
It'll be
about.
voided on the
Okay.
next.
now this is just kind of me being stupid. $1,698 a month for the, water tower. Over 20 years, that's $403,000. What did our new water tower cost us? Because I know that's just, we'll never have to pay the cost of a new water tower again, correct?
So that includes all the service and maintenance for the water tower. So that includes them washing it, that includes inside and outside, and then that includes the paint job.
But we'll never have to pay for a new water tower ever again, because that's what this is paid for, correct? That's what I remember from the last time we talked about it.
Well, I
It
mean,
helps maintain the life of your water tower. Doesn't mean you won't ever have to replace one.
it's one of those things where we discussed changing out a known for an unknown.
Yes.
So we could not pay that, and then it
Well,
could
that's,
go,
that's why we're paying for this now,
right.
because we didn't do it then.
Yes.
I get it.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. That's all I had.
Anyone else?
I make a motion to approve January check register.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
January financials?
I didn't see any.
I didn't see anything under.
I make a motion to approve the January financials.
We'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Purchase upgrade service rack for door video system?
So Luke was here, putting in the ambulance door and the other door and upgrading the server rack, and then we ran out of room. But it's okay, because we need to have a server rack at the water tower, or the water plant for the stuff that's there. So the current one that we have here will work perfectly fine. Actually, it's a little overkill for what we need at the water plant, which is fine, because we're gonna probably have to have more stuff over there anyway. So we'll need to upgrade the rack here. The one that I found for here, $800 installed. So the size is right, but it needs to be a little deeper for the video camera system, and then the bigger server switch that's got to go in there.
Are they gonna install the one in, water plant?
He will once we put the other
That's
stuff
in
over
this.
there.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to purchase the server rack for door and video system for $800.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Water tower lease discussion.
I put it in front of you. So this is for the Radio Link currently leases our water tower. The lease has not been in effect for a long time. So I went through and kind of looked at stuff. The green and red is the comments that I've upgraded. The yellow is information that our attorney provided for the contract. So I guess what I'm looking for is just, you want to look over it real quickly, let me know if you think everything looks okay. If it does, I'll reach out to Mr. Petzinger and talk to him see if it looks okay to him, and then bring it back to you guys next month.
I think you said that this before was in lieu of our internet bill.
Correct. Yeah, and we don't use them.
And now we're getting money.
Well, we will.
Yeah.
We currently don't use them for internet anymore.
Gotcha. Have you talked to anybody else about what they're getting for their rent?
Yeah, so Ellendale's tower, they're looking to go to 2,000. Zumbrota is charging 19 this year,
So it's comparable.
2,000 next year, and right around there in Medford is just putting something on their tower, and they're looking to get 3,000. So.
Do you guys need to see this anymore? The rest of you?
Yeah,
We
we'll
usually
have
have
I
that.
don't know, you need to discuss anymore.
Well, this is a bonus.
Just table it till next month.
Well, I guess what I'm just looking for feedback is if you don't see anything else that the contract would be for 3 years. We just added in some information like notifying Eric when he's coming in and out of the tower just because of safety and stuff like that. And then the attorney added some information regarding insurance coverages and amounts that he felt was necessary.
Only thing I see is.
The only thing that, yeah.
Is putting in there is he has to provide that insurance proof every year so that we know that he's still carrying it. And that would be with anybody that came in here, because you can show proof and then get rid of it after that. But keeping it.
I'm gonna have to go look. I've never seen that tower. It says it's in City Park.
The water tower.
The water tower. It's on top of the water.
The big one says New Richland on top of it. Big flashy light.
That's right.
It's the one we spend $1,600 a month on. We're just talking about.
I was thinking tower. You know, like it down at the end of the street. Oh, geez.
Oh, the dummies work.
Time to go home. I might just go for it.
It's okay.
You made my day.
I do.
Nobody has any.
I didn't have any other concerns but that one about showing that for yearly.
So I'll reach out to Dan and then talk to him.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Miscellaneous.
Anything else? Miscellaneous administrative report was nothing, so.
City administrator's report?
Yeah.
Anything?
Obviously, tons of meetings on the street project, school, city attorney, David Drown. Went through a workers' compensation audit, everything looked great. Submitted DNR water use and paid for that to the state of Minnesota. Submitted our auditor year-end information. Worked with the city attorney regarding the year-end stuff. Sent out transmitted 1099 information. Currently working on renewal of the Microsoft contracts and the Midco contracts that's due this year. I did want to mention, because I forgot about it until Tina was here today, but I went to an EDA. Part of the reason I forgot is because it's this month, but went to EDA workforce discussion on workforce. Why am I drawing a blank?
Workforce development of the
Yeah,
county.
Workforce Development Center that the county is starting. We had a work session, and it was all the cities and the schools and the counties talking about challenges that we all face in the workforce and how we can work together to address some of those challenges, especially with potential partners in the schools and things like that. I really brought up especially the need for like you at the care center and how maybe the schools can address that need with maybe some CNA programs within the school or things like that. So there's some pretty cool stuff going on at the county level that we're going to be a part of working on. it's a slow process. It's like a 1-year process to get that going, but I think the county's got a good thing going and being actively involved with the schools. The school's a big part of it, so that could be good for the region. So with that, we did this during the EDA thing, but this is for the council members that weren't there. So for you and Jason and Josh. The survey for Tina. And she said, just think, well, you don't have to do it right now, but just think of one thing for each of those questions and then get it back to me. She's interested to kind of give that information to her. She's trying to develop a list of things to kind of drive the conversation towards that stuff for the county. So, with that, lots of birthdays. Eric's birthday, happy birthday, Eric, today. Braden Thompson has a birthday on the 21st. Josh Babcock from the ambulance on the 21st. And Don Tangen. I had a lot of errors this month. I apologize to everybody. Heather Christensen on the 10th next month. So that's what I got for my report.
Motion to approve the administrator's report.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other council comments, anybody?
This day on the hill, if anybody's interested, that looks like a pretty good deal, but I'd like to go with my health.
They talked about it at the event.
Get a lunch and stuff.
We went to Josh and Matt and I were all at a learning thing this weekend and Friday and Saturday, and they had talked about it and they said spots are filling up, so it should be a good turnout. But yeah.
Was that seminar worthwhile, do you think?
There were parts that were drier than others.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you expect
But
that.
yeah.
There were some good things.
So was
Yeah.
It was definitely worth it.
Was it death by PowerPoint or not?
Yeah, but it wasn't like just reading off PowerPoint.
Okay.
They were out and about.
Yeah.
Once you got into finance and budgeting,
New member.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, there was some good stuff.
You missed the ethics on Saturday. That was, whew. But yeah.
Got to meet some other people that were just
Right.
starting out.
It was at a table with all the Canadian folks.
I was with CPI and Winthrop. It was surprising to me that there was a few people that were elected and they didn't even sign up. They were just voted in into the position. That was
So, but yeah, good conversation. Yeah.
good conversations, yeah, and good connections with other towns.
I remember
maybe,
going to it.
Yeah.
questions with them. I shared numbers so that if they have questions or I do on what they did in their cities. So some good foundation communications set up. So yeah. All right.
I got an idea.
Uh-oh.
Probably gonna roll your eyes, because we discussed this before. I would like to have it put on the agenda for next meeting to discuss new information that's come forward for municipal cannabis dispensaries for a town.
Like, you want to drive the conversation, or
Well, just bring it up and talk some of the stuff. Oh, yes,
yes, you want to drive the
Yes.
conversation? Okay.
at least get it started.
There hasn't been anything on the news as of late on that at all.
Yeah, there is.
I haven't heard anything. I watch the news every day.
Okay, I will put it
I'll
on
bring
the
my
agenda for
popcorn.
you to discuss.
That's it.
All right.
I make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.